Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of the Full Quota Podcast. This is your weekly cricket podcast, your number one cricket podcast. But who's counting? We are. We talk all things South African cricket, and we had an interesting show earlier on in the week. We spoke about the players who played in New Zealand. We did a review of the Test series. I think I titled it Opportunities Lost. Opportunities missed opportunities, which is essentially what those guys were going through. So if you want to check through that review, please do go there. You can also follow us on Full Quota Podcast on X. Also subscribe to the One World Sports Radio channel. We also have an audio podcast version on Spotify at Full Quota Podcast, as well as on Apple Podcast for you Apple people. So today's an interesting one because we are midway through the first day, or just after midway of the first day in the 4-day series finale, final round of the 4-day series games. We've got 5 teams essentially that can make the final, which will be in which obviously is quite an important thing in terms of going to who wins the 4-day series, and all 4 Division 1 teams are there. We've also got a Division 2 final, 4-day series final on Saturday between the Northern Cape Heat in the Diamond Oval against the Itec Knights. We're going to talk to you all of that. It's a domestic cricket podcast like we always do. There's a lot of people we've interviewed who are playing in these games and are on these run scoring charts and wicket taking charts. And then most importantly, it's all about the growth of the domestic game. And so we're doing our bit in that. But please do follow us, support us, like, subscribe, share as widely as possible to your family, friends, whoever wants to know what's happening this week in the 4-day series. It is a finale. We're going to be sitting here on Saturday afternoon trying to figure out who's going in, who's going out, who's winning, who's not. And it all goes into that whole massive table where we decide who the champions will be at the end of it all. But before we do anything, I'm not flying solo. You can see Tim's here with me. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, mate. I'm really looking forward to this chat and this final round of the pinnacle of the format for me. I love 4-day cricket. I really do.
Yeah. Look,
I just want to add just very briefly. Both finals people are 5 days. Division 1 and 2 are for 5 days. So it's an actual test match.
Yes, and the thing about 4-day series is that we work so hard. These games, nobody necessarily watches a lot of them, but now they have access to. They're on the CSA YouTube, and we're building up to this point, right? And to a certain extent, there is an urgency aspect that's important, because if you lose a game, you might find yourself in trouble. And the fact that we've got 5 out of the 8 teams fighting for a spot kind of tells you how competitive the 4-day series has been here in South Africa. We've also got a relegation situation happening there, and if some teams find a way to win games, they might find themselves off the bottom of the table. So that's also quite important as well. But outside of that, that's essentially what we're going to be talking about today. And Tim, let's start with the permutation of the points, right? So I'm actually going to start with the Division 1 fixtures. So the final round of fixtures are as follows. The Momentum Multiply Titans will play the DP or are playing the DP World Lions at Supersport Park. At this point in time, the Titans won the toss and chose to bat. Every team that won the toss today chose to bat. It's T right now. It's 196 to the Titans for 7. And we'll explain what that means as we go along. Spanelo Macanya scored a 62 of 90 right now. He is not out. And you've got some contributions from Devil Brevis. He was caught in bowled Cody Yusuf, but the chief destroyer of the day for the Lions was Luto Supamla. He scored 3 for 40. He's taken 3 for 48 already. So that's how that one goes. Next match is the AET Tuskers and the Duffer Bed Warriors. Obviously, this is live. You'll be listening to us at the end of the day, but it's giving a sense of what's happening now. The AET Tuskers against the Duffer Bed Warriors. A big stat there is Tristan Stubbs, who scored 100 in that game. He is just, it's his fifth first class century. I think he's got five first class centuries and 150, Tim. So that's also quite an intriguing thing to watch. Tristan Stubbs watch if you want to do that. Him and Matthew Brithke both fourth centuries. Um, the what is it? The Warriors were 20 for two, and this pair has put on 224 runs already at two, between Gretzky and Tristan Stubbs. Then the next game will be is against, it's the World Sports Bet Western Province. Welcome back, World Sports Betting, against the Hollywood Bet Dolphins. Also Western Province at T 238-2. Tony DeZorzi scored 72. Daniel Smith scored 106. Now out there's Muhammad Vali and Gavin Kaplan in the middle. Yeah, it's been a very good day for the for Western Province, Tim, as well as Quinn Allen O'Brien is the only man who's taken a wicket for the Dolphins at this moment in time. And then the final game is the D-Bet Rocks against the Northwest Dragons. Dragons on the toss, chose to bat first. 208 for 3 at T. Lesego Sonokwane, you've heard me speak about him all the time. He's on 79 off 171. He opened the batting. Lesiba Ngwepe was retired hurt on 58. And then you've got Ruben Hadman out, who got 32. But the wickets for the for the G-Bet Rocks was hardest for Yoon and Glenn Steeman. So this is how the games are, and we then move on to the permutations, right? But before we do the permutations, Tim, why don't you take us through the points? Okay, let's go to the table first. So this is what the table looks like before the fixture started, Tim. And in a sense, you've got five teams: Dolphins, Titans, Lions, Western Province, and Warriors, who are in with a shot. The G-Bet Rock find themselves slightly out of contention, but their job, I think, is fighting for relegation, right, Tim?
Yeah, that's the it's we will discuss this in a later podcast, but for them it's all about getting as many points as possible to stave off relegation, as you say.
Yes. So that's what the table looks like, and then here's some of here are the points, and then we'll talk about the permutation. So the points for the 4-day series system are as follows: to win, you get 16 points; to draw, you get 6. You get bonus points for the first two innings of the match, innings 1 and 2, only applying to the first 100 overs in each innings. Right, so a team will get bowling points and a team will get batting points. Right, and then so for batting, you'll get 0.02 points per every run after 150. So if you score 400 runs, you effectively give yourself 5 points, but it must only be done in the first 100 overs. That's very important. From a bowling perspective, you need to take 9 wickets to get 4 points, 7 wickets for 3, and 5 wickets for 2, and 3 wickets for 1. So, for instance, the Lions right now in Centurion have taken 7 wickets by T, which means that they already have 3 bowling points already. They just need to get to 9 wickets and they'll have the full quota of bowling points. Haha, full quota podcast. So that's essentially what the point system is. But here are the permutations. What we've worked on here is on each team getting to 400 in 100 overs. That's 4 runs and over, and getting 9 wickets in the bowling innings. So if each team wins and gets the maximum bowling bonus points, this is where they will end up, right? However, obviously, the Titans are playing the Lions, so whoever wins that game, the other one gets out of contention for the final. So too with the Dolphins and the Western Province, and so that's where it goes. What the Warriors need to win their game, and they need to find 2 draws in the games between the Titans and the Lions and the Dolphins and Western Province. Tim, have I got that right?
You're right. Obviously, it is going to come down to the various bonus points, but that is effectively what needs to happen. If the Warriors win, and the teams like the Lions don't make more than say 300, then they are there. They're in that final against the Dolphins. if the Dolphins beat Province. And that's what they'll be happy for. They'll be happy for that to be the case. So they've got a chance, but in all honesty, as the way things are at the moment on day one, it looks unlikely. Not impossible, but just highly unlikely. At the moment, it's looking very much like a province somebody final. That's what it's looking at the moment. But things can change.
A province somebody final, which will be interesting because then number four will be usurping the Dolphins. But it looks like the Dolphins are struggling there in Cape Town so far. But you never know how. Looks like it's a good batting wicket, and you just have a sense of maybe the Dolphins can also score 400 runs, and then you just go to a draw.
I
And
looked at the I looked at the permutations, and the province game is effectively a semi-final. Technically, I think that even if the Dolphins lose, there's a small window where they could mathematically still make the final, but I think it's virtually impossible. So for that
okay.
game alone, it's basically winner takes all in
But
that
then
game.
what about that Titans Lions game, right? It's if it ends in a draw, it opens up possibly for the Warriors to come in essentially.
It does. It does. It does. So the permutations are long and wide. Um,
Mm.
it is certainly open at the moment. But as I said before, if you were to look at it now, where the numbers are, as I say, a
Yeah.
province uh, Lions final. That's what it looks like at the moment. Um, whether that
Well,
is
you're
going to
assuming that at day one on a T, the teams that are ahead are the ones that are going to make it into the final, but we've
exactly
got a long way
that's
to
what I
go.
was. Yeah, yeah.
And that's interesting. And let's talk about some of the key matchups in the two key games there at the top, the Lions and the Titans. It's a YXK derby. It's always going to be intriguing. You've got Matthew Kleinfeld who started. He scored 45, but obviously Luto Sipamla in his return, right, from injury, he's taken 3 for 48. It looks like the Lions have missed pace, and now they finally got it. Obviously, the other wickets, Delano Porchita, who's been very good for them. And he's taken 2 wickets in this period without Duan or Moreki. Cody Yusuf also adding a little bit of pace. But who do the Titans and the Lions need to perform in order for them to make it to the final?
So the Lions need that top order to score runs. The bowlers have done the business. I still think
Mm-hmm.
that if they're gonna go all the way, they're gonna need 350. They're gonna have to
Yeah.
really. They've done the business now with the ball, so it's gonna be that top six that we often talk about in the line setup. That's gonna have
Yeah.
to step up at the moment. And it looks like to me that doesn't look like a 170 for 7 pitch. And I watched quite a bit today, and it
Mm.
doesn't look like that is the case. Um, so they should be happy as the way things are going at the moment.
Yes, they should be happy. And that top order is without Timber Bavumu scored 77 in the last game. We don't know. It feels like it might be some sort of precautionary resting him, but we don't know if he's injured. We don't know if he's got family commitments or anything else. But it's actually quite interesting. Timber came out, Lutus Pamla came in, Wandile Makwetu got promoted up the order. So big job for that top six of Richards, Josh Richards, Dom Hendricks, Ryan Rickleton. There is no Zubair Hamza. He's resting from New Zealand. Mitch Van Buren, Vian Mulder, and Wandile Makwetu. So that's that top six. But from a Titans perspective, I looked at their squad as well. Um, it's got Corbin Bosch, Junior Dala, Dan Khalim, Deval Brevis, Donovan Ferreira, Josh Van Heerden, Matthew Kleinfeld, as well as the top run scorer, Valdo Minsam. They haven't done well from a batting perspective as that top six, but from a bowling perspective, they're going to need a little bit more from Junior Dala and Corbin Bosch.
That this what worries me with this Titan setup. to an expect, the Lions bowling unit is actually a bit light. We know it's a bit light,
Mm.
but it's been punching above its weight with people like Viren Mulder and Cody Yusuf really stepping up to the plate in terms of that. I look at the Titans and I look at that bowling unit, and that bowling unit for me is still too light. Um,
Yeah.
so it needed runs from Brevis and Kleinfeld. Um, Look, McCanya's there, 62 not out. If he
Hmm.
goes and makes 100, that's a uh, it's going to be very very important for them if
Yeah.
he does go all the way. But I just think their bowling is just too light for me. I like Merrick Brett and I like Kalim, but it's just too. It's a bowler or two, not even a bowler or two, light for me. If they had somebody like Pankiso playing, I'd be less worried.
Yeah, it's actually quite surprising, and a lot of these teams outside of Western Province are devoid of their proteas, which is something else, right? But looking at that Western Province game, obviously they're ahead of the in the game, as you would see. Daniel Smith scoring 106, and Tony Dezorzi scoring 73. Good to see Tony opening the batting and scoring runs. They still have Carl Verena in the hut, Valentine Kitime also, Onke Nyaku as well, but from a bowling perspective, is Nandre Berger's back, Bjorn Hendricks is there, and Wesley Bedger, who took a fine for last weekend, he's in. And I'm assuming, Tim, you're looking to that bowling attack to say, let's put Western Province in on a good footing, and the batting to a certain extent looks really good right now, and it's seemingly coming together for Western Province at the right time.
Yes, no, you're spot on. I think that in contrast to both the teams up north, Lions and
Mm,
Titans, that bowling unit is a bowling unit, at least on a domestic front, that you would be very, very comfortable taking around the country, and I've been doing the business on a consistent basis now
mm,
as a unit. Um, I'm so glad that Wesley's got a chance and a consistent chance now. Um, Come up from the A League club system down in the Cape,
mm.
plucked from there. It just shows that there is talent at the club level down in the Cape that they can really um,
Yes.
can mix it with the big boys. He's shown that he can absolutely mix it with the big boys. We saw Keenan Smith, the left arm spinner, a couple of
Mm-hmm.
games ago. He was the same, also coming from Claremont Cricket Club. Um, the one thing that I would like to point out,
Mm-hmm.
which I saw in this innings, is Tony DeSorsi has changed his starts. He's changed his the way he goes and he bats. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping it was just a case of the ball was moving around a bit, so he was a bit wary of people, of Ethan Bosch and Bartman in particular, and it's not something that we're going to see in the future because it was minimalistic foot movement and trusting
Yes.
entirely on
On
on his
hands.
hands and his eye contact with the ball, which look it got him 72, but at the next level, test level, it's not a
Mm.
technique I'd want to see in the
Especially
test
for
level.
someone at the top of the order. Similar
Yeah.
to Cal Verena. Essentially, that's what you're saying to me. The other thing I wanted to say was they've done well to obviously kind of nullify Othniel Bartman as well as Ethan Bosch. And obviously now falling to Subrian, both of them. Worryingly, South Africans can't play spin, so that's another thing. Um, but I look at that Dolphin side, right? Obviously, it is a wealth of experience, right? You've got Ethan Bosch, Jason Smith, you've got John Smuts, who's turned himself into a really good spin bowler, Marks Ackerman, Ogutle Kele, who's had a great time and also been nullified by Dezorzi and Smith, Sardal Advir, the captain, Tapang Detol, who's had a great season. So this is another team that has worked so hard and they've gotten to the top now, playing some really good and some really great cricket. And it'd be in my head. I know you want Western Province to go through, but it'd be a disservice to see a team like this not make it to the final because they've played incredible cricket all the way through. But it also speaks to how great our system is and our the 4 day series is that you can lead for the whole season, but you can lose it with one game. And this like you obviously if you're a Dolphins fan, you want wickets in the post T session, right? And it's going to be quite interesting to see how that turns out and how that pans out.
Yeah, look, it is going to be interesting. One thing about the Dolphins, they are like the old style Titans way back
Mm.
when we had
Don't remind me
Morcom,
of
De
that team.
Villiers. They know how to win games. That they have to win. They know how to get themselves into a position to get themselves into that final. They know about how to go about these sorts of things. So they won't be
Mm.
panicking. They'll realise that that first session in particular, they just bowled too full. The ball was moving around a little bit, but they bowled too many half volleys. Daniel Smith
Yeah.
and Tony just took it and just smacked it all right the park. But they won't be too panicky, I don't think. As you say, there's a lot of experience in that Dolphin setup, and they are still very much within that game. Um, Even if Province are at the moment on top.
Okay, and that's one of the things that you kind of need to note is obviously it's still very early for us, and so it's going to be quite interesting. I'm going to ask you to put your flags on the mast right now, as to who's going to go through. I'm assuming you're going to assume Western Province is going to get through. So who's joining them on the other end in the final? Is it a Warriors who are beating up on the AET Tuskers, and it's going to rain here in Johannesburg, or is it going to be one of those two teams playing at Supersport Park?
So my head says it's going to be the Lions, um,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be very interesting if it was the
Yeah.
Warriors. I like what the Warriors are doing, and if you look at the individuals involved, the Tristan Stubbs, the Bayer Swanepoels, the Matthew
Mm.
Britsky's, that's
It's
the
a very
next
young team.
generation. That's the
Yes.
next generation of Proteas. So I'd actually like to see them in a final and see how they cope. So I'd
Look, they're
like a
giving
province,
themselves. Yeah.
yeah, a province
Look.
Warriors final.
Oh, that'd be interesting in a rematch of last weekend's beatdown that Western Province put on the Warriors. But today they are chasing that 400 runs in 100 overs. They're currently 264 for two. They've just resumed play. Stubbs 137 off 200 balls. Matthew Britsky 110 off 226. So a lot of bonus points coming their way. If they get to about 300, they will get, I think, 4 points, or I think 350 is 4 points. But it's pretty awesome to see how they are trying to give themselves every chance with this first innings in order to get yourself in. Effectively, the way the 4 day series works is first innings, collect as many bonus points as you can. Second innings, win the game. And it's essentially what the Warriors are going to do against the Tuskers team that has underwhelmed all season, but they have a win in them if they play this properly. But from a bowling perspective, the Tuskers team does not scare anybody. So yeah, the Warriors are going to probably be winning the game within 3 days or just after 3 days. They're going to be sitting here watching YouTube like the rest of us, just watching that Titans Lions game. Just like a hawk, hoping that it rains, and we'll probably be even doing rain dances. On my end, I'd like the Lions in the final. I think it'll be interesting to see how that's going to work out. But because I think they're a better side than the Titans, and if the Lions win, they go through. And I think it would speak to how they build their seasons, right? Slow starts, but managing to keep themselves in contention and get themselves there. Ryan
Would
Rickleton,
you
it's his moment to shine. In the face of Tristan Stubbs and David Bedingham doing all the things, just give Shukri another headache, as I think he should, because Stubbs is pretty much repaying all the faith Shukri had in him, and then yeah, David Bedingham is doing David Bedingham things, and it'll be interesting to see that. The only issue with the Lions in the final is I'd like to see all the Proteas available. So I'd like to see Rassi like he played last week. I'd like to see Temba. I'd like to see Kagiso. I'd like to see possibly if there's a way you can fit in Gwena, but obviously there's an aspect of obviously the guys who've gotten you there versus the superstars coming back. But it'd be very, very nice to see a test match with KG, or a final with KG, Temba, Rassi. I know Riza's in Pakistan right now. So too George Linda, but it'd be a great final with the Western Province. The only other good thing that I'd want out of this is that if the Lions win, I want Western Province to win to the finals at the Wanderers and not in Durban, because we've seen multiple finals in Durban before we moved over to the provincial structure. I don't like it. Ask the Titans about that. I think that last final was just weird. I think they spun them into a hole. And it rained as well. So that's the other thing. But you can say, but Mpho, it rains in Joburg too. It rains in Joburg too. So yeah, so that's what it is. Those are the permutations. You can check all these games out on CSA's YouTube channel. Just go and watch and go and support and go and see the next generation, the next guys playing in domestic cricket. Not a lot of Proteas playing. If you want to watch Proteas playing, go watch Western Province against the Dolphins. Everyone else doesn't have a lot of Proteas playing. Devil Brevis, you can consider a Protea. Obviously, you've got Tristan Stubbs there. He's got a test cap in Peter Maritzburg, so you can watch that. He's putting on a show right now for the crowd in the tree at Peter Maritzburg.
I do get asked this regularly, and it astonishes me that people don't like this, and it actually does speak to poor marketing of the competition. Now, you're not going to get the marketing of SO20, that's a given, but all of these games are free, people, all of them. So you can go right now to all of these games, walk into the stadium, and you'll have no issue. Enjoy the cricket. There's lots of cricket involved. Lots of good players involved. We've spoken about them here. So there's no excuse. Wait if you have to wait until Friday when it really gets interesting. By all means do that. Otherwise, go on your lunch break. Go on your afternoon break. Go on, if you're close by, go and see these players.
Okay. Go and see these players. That's what Tim is telling you. Now let's move on to Division 2, because Division 2 is essentially now done. We have the table. The teams have played their regular season, and now we're just waiting for a final between the Northern Cape Heat in the Diamond Oval in Kimberley against the Itec Knights. It's effectively a former franchise battle. Remember, the Knights used to be the Free State and Northern Cape. That got split in the provincial structure. Now they're playing each other again. Northern Cape didn't make promotion last year, but the Knights got dropped down in Division 2, and this is a derby. This is a Free State. I don't know what you would call it, Free State derby, but yeah, it's a derby, and so it's gonna get kind of. I think it might get spicy. I don't know, Tim. Do you think it'll get spicy?
It's potentially because there's a lot to play for. There is still a lot to play for, as we will discuss in a later podcast. Something called promotion. But yeah, look, it should be a good game.
Look, obviously the table's obviously set, and the points for promotion will be decided on this. But being a Division 2 4-day series champion is important. Last year, Northern Cape Heat won this, but couldn't get promotion in the end, which was horrible because they needed friends to help them and they didn't. But if you look at the table now, Northern Cape Heat came through in the last minute against Limpopo. Effectively, that match was whoever was going to win that match was going to win Division 2. Gordon Parsons did a great job with Limpopo, but they just couldn't get over the hurdle. And Northern Cape Heat winning that game and winning winning the regular season. So they won the regular season. They got the 15 points on the promotion and relegation table. The Knights finishing in second, so they've gotten 15 and 10 because remember they won they were the number one team that wasn't SA emerging in the One Day Cup. Then Limpopo coming third. Border doing a really great job winning 2 games there. and drawing two. So the Garden Route Badgers as well, also known as SWD, 2 wins there. Easterns with 2 wins, they just let it slide. They were second on the log, and then just went on a round of two. They lost two in a row. And this is what happens, right? And that's the competitiveness of this. And if you look at Mpumalanga there at the bottom, they only won one game, but they got 63 points. And it kind of tells you how competitive Division 2 is, right? And obviously there's many drama. There's so much to talk about here in terms of just like each team's story, right? But the fact that you have the top 3 teams on 3 wins and the next 3 teams on 2 wins, it gives you a sense that the competition's actually there. It's not like previous years where you thought Limpopo and Mpumalanga wouldn't do anything, but we've seen the meteoric rise of Limpopo. Mpumalanga's won a few games. They're going through whatever they're going through right now, but it's giving you a sense of this provincial structure in Division 2 is actually working.
I was adamant when we had the restructuring that it would work. I was absolutely adamant as long as you gave the individual teams the resources to perform, which I think could be improved, but there is enough there for everybody to work
Yeah.
with. So it's not surprising to me that the gap between the teams is actually very, very small. Even if you compare the differences between Limpopo and Mpumalanga, there's a very small difference between the two if you look at the entire season, not just the 4-day series. In terms of games won, I think Limpopo have won one more game across the competitions. So it's not a surprise to me. It's really good to see. Perhaps I'm a little bit surprised it happened this quickly, but this is now our 3rd season of it. This is now our 3rd season of the restructuring. Yeah. It's clear to me that it's working. It's absolutely clear.
Look, Tim, I think we need to. I think we need to talk about Mpumalanga and their struggles, and we'll probably talk about that in a few podcasts going forward, right? But Limpopo did all the work. Border did all the work. And you can see that the fruits are now coming through. Now they're going into CSA T20 Challenge, where we thought in the 4-day series, the smaller unions, Border, Limpopo, Mpumalanga would struggle in this. And Gordon Parsons spoke to this, right? The longer the game, the tougher it becomes for your team. But somehow they've managed to get it to work. 2 wins is not a bad season for Border, and 3 wins for Limpopo. 3 wins for Limpopo is an insanely good season, right? So so they can take that and run, and kind of speaks to the type of coaching. And I think if teams look at that, but now they have a chance in the CSA T20 Challenge to do something that many have never done before, and that is win something with a team that is actually with teams that actually have a good bunch of cricketers, right? There isn't that much of a deficit that I see from these Division 2 teams going into that CSA T20. But we'll talk about that going forward. Here's the final. So before we do anything, let's look at the top run scorers. Then we'll just talk about Northern Cape as well as Free State. But the top run scorers in Division 2, Blade Capel. This is the top 10. So Blade Capel scored 781 runs for the Garden Route Badgers. Jean Duplessis, who then went on to make his debut for the GBets Rocks, 591. Malcolm Murray at Border, 582. He shouldn't be playing in Division 1, but he's a better batter than that, than where he is, but still good in runs. Rowan Harsbrook, who played for the Lions last year, now is at Limpopo, 577 runs, an average of 48. Well done. He's also got some keeping in him if you're looking for a wicketkeeper. Yuri Sneyman, who we interviewed, 553. He scored that double century, Tim, last week.
That's correct. That's correct. The big thing there is, for me, is that the finalists are not dominating that list.
Yes.
That for me is I think there's 1, 2, 3. My eyes are
Forrester, Kluter. You've also got JP Oakes, 551 for Northern Cape.
So it's 3.
So It's three guys in the final,
Yeah,
and yeah, quite interesting.
three,
It's
three,
it's
three, of,
I like
three of the
it.
top 10. So
Mm.
it shows that the two teams that are in the final, they are playing as a team. They're getting a team ethos there. They are not relying on one or two individuals. And if you look at their team stats, that also shows through. That they've each got 4 or 5 batsmen that are doing the business, averaging over 40, and they're doing well as well as the bowling. So if you look at the stats on a holistic view, it's
Mm.
it's probably the two best teams in the competition. As we rightly pointed out, Limpopo will be hard done by because
Yes, they
they were
will.
very close, but these are probably over the season. These probably are the two best teams at the final.
Look, and you've got one team that got relegated from Division One. They still have the structures that are as that are Division One type, and you've also got obviously Northern KP who've been perennial winners of the Division Two. Right, they haven't been able to get themselves out, but they won the first 4-day series competition in Division Two, and then they won the second one. It's just they can't play limited overs cricket to save their lives. I just don't understand what's wrong with that side, but that's effectively what got them in a bit of a tangle. But it's the blue bloods of Division Two, and one of them is gonna probably get promoted at the end of the year. But you never know because last year we thought Northern Cape was going up, and then the Tuskers came through and did the thing. Okay, bowling. Let's look at the bowling. The wickets. The wicket takers in Division Two. You've got Jay de Klerk at the top with 34 wickets at an average of 28. He's a spinner. Joe van Dijk, remember him? He had a cameo in the first CSA T20. Him and not Evan Roos, Evan Jones were a really interesting pair for Northern Cape of hard hitting fast bowlers. Chad Claassen from Easton's 27 wickets. Thomas Kaber, who you saw in SA20 with 24 wickets. Divan Postumus with 23 wickets from Easton's. Portana with 22. Andrew Rasamene of Easton's with 22. Kwezu Kumete, who is at the Badgers with 21. Ethan Hawken with 18 wickets, and Simalani with 18 wickets. All this tells me is this Jeffrey Tuhana is probably crying right now. Like he had the bowlers that could help him out. It's just Easton's just couldn't score runs.
Yeah, that was the issue for them. Um, for me though, the star is Joe van Dijk. If you remember, he got a game for the South African A side against
Mm.
India in December. Since then, in three first class games, he's got 16 wickets. 16 wickets in three
And
games.
he's also quite pacey. Maybe he should have gone to New Zealand as well.
Well, I was glad he got that nod in that A setup. It showed that Division Two guys could actually make the step up. And for
Yeah,
me, he's gone and he's seen that selection. He's gone, you know what? I want to prove to you that I actually am at that level. And he's done
yeah,
that now. I think if teams are looking for a fast bowler next year, there are going to be some changes across the divisions. If there's a Division One side looking for some impetus, some pace, I'd be looking at Joe. I really would be
yeah.
looking at Joe. I think a team like
There's
the
two
Warriors,
teams. The
Warriors,
Warriors. I think the Warriors with Bear Swanepoel have pace, but you'd want someone with a little bit pushing there. But
a
there's
little
two
bit
teams
more.
that I'm looking at. It's the Rocks, the Paul Rocks, the GBets Rocks. They need a quick. Um, and then also it's the what team is that? The Tuskers. The Tuskers need a quick. Um,
My
and the other thing,
the, the reason
yes.
I didn't say the Tuskers is because it's still not over for them, but I think they're going to be relegated. So we will obviously discuss this a little, but I just think
Okay.
I don't think they've got enough. So,
Tim,
but
you're
yes,
sending people down already. You're sending people down with the T20 to challenge to come. Yeah, look, but essentially, but that's the truth, right? They need fast bowlers. You look at that bowling
Yeah,
lineup, like,
they do.
oh,
They do.
even like the how Kwesi Kumete ended up at the Badgers bothers me a lot because he's also quite quick, right? And so it's interesting. And if you look at that Lions game, right, Lutus Upamle is the fast bowler. He is quick and
Yeah.
he's taking wickets. It's chalk and cheese at this level. If you have someone who can just touch 140, you stand, you put yourself in a good position. Okay, so let's talk about the final. Let's talk about both teams, then we'll figure out. So let's talk about the game breakers in on the Knights, right? So you've got Devon Forrester, who is the superstar
A
that he
special
is.
talent. Yeah. Yeah.
Very, very special challenge. Should be playing one. But they've got Gian Klute as well, who's also played franchise cricket before. They've also got Pete Botha, who's also doing quite well there. Um, Garner Tar, who we interviewed, he hasn't done much, but three guys with 500 runs. It's Forrester, Botha, and Klute, which is a good thing, right, for them. And they're going to need runs from them. Um, and to a certain extent, that's where their batting has been all season. It's just those three guys who've done it. The thing for me is on the bowling side, without Dane Pete, it's going to be quite interesting to see how they play. Dane Pete played the
Two
was it he
games.
yeah played two games,
Two.
but he played the last game before they because the Knights finished first, Tim, right?
Yeah.
Finished all their games first, right? So did Dane play that last game?
He didn't play the last game.
He
No.
didn't play that last game. Yeah.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see how they manage without him. But obviously they've got Tian van Vieren, who's also very good. Pollard, Bungose, as well as Langa as well from a bowling perspective, who they'll be looking for. Obviously, they've got all rounders in Aubrey Swanepoel, Devon Forrester can score runs. You've got Jacques Sneeman as well. But when you look at this team, Tim, how do they win this game? Who needs to put their hand up and put it up really, really high?
It's gonna be the top three. If they, it'd be interesting to see if they play Snowman. Snowman has not played every game this season, uh, partly due to injury, I think. So if he, I'm gonna put him in just because he's potentially deadly. If he, Clutty and Forrester get to a fiery start as they have done through large parts of the season, I think it's going to be very, very difficult for Northern Cape. Um,
Yeah.
it's going to be their batting. Their batting. There've been some good performances with the ball. Uh, I've been very, very impressed with Matthew Pollard. He's been their standout bowler. Obviously, Pete is
Yeah.
an exception, but Pete's only played two games.
Yes.
So he's out there. Pollard, the pace bowler, 16 wickets at 19. For me, he's been a real, real star, and it's been really important for the Knights because they've found themselves in positions where they've needed to get wickets, and he's been the guy that they've gone to. But if they're going to win, it's going to be that their batting. Their batting is potentially very, very strong. Um, Whereas, yeah, I think it's a slightly
Yeah.
more nuanced for the Northern Cape Heat in terms
Yeah.
of their
But yeah, so effectively it's Forrester, Patrick, Butcher, and Kian Tutu. You guys need to score runs for your team to do anything, right? And the 5 days is going to be quite cool for the youngsters in your side that you're bringing through. Forrester, Tar, and all those guys. Be able to experience what an extra day of cricket means. We never seldom need to use it, as you see in international cricket, but it's there. Northern Cape Heat, Tim. Let's look at what they've been doing. They've got the likes of Jonathan Vandia, JP Oakes, who was in the top run scorers, start with 551. Vandia didn't have a great season. He only played two games. You've also got Corne Brits, who is scored 416 runs as well, just off the Chris
Chris.
Brits.
It's Chris.
Sorry, Chris
Chris
Brits.
Brett. Chris.
Who just scored 428 runs. Hardest for Yoon scored 416 runs for them as well. Grant Thompson is there with 395. Ernest Kemp 389 opening the batting. You've also got Emmanuel Mutswiri, who is an intriguing player. He scored 347 runs at an average of 57. Very, very intriguing for for everybody looking for a Black African batter in the Division One. Um, and look, they've shared the runs around. They've shared the runs around. I think for me, the question obviously is, how do the wickets come through? Obviously, Joe van Dijk is there for them with 28 wickets, but after that, it falls drastically with Grant Thompson on 14, Ernest Kim on 15 wickets, and Tepon Tulu, who's a spinner, on 13 wickets. So I think this is where they're going to have to try and step up and get themselves in going from a bowling perspective. Obviously, they've got Benjamin van Rensburg, who's in there as well. He's taken 10 wickets, but yeah, it's like the first like the Knights. It's just gonna all come down to batting, it seems. But at the end of the day, if two teams are strong, it's gonna come down to who bowls better. And yeah, look, this Northern Cape team knows how to play in these big spots. They've played in them for a while now in terms of getting number one. But this is a different kettle of fish because the first final they're playing.
Yeah. It's a very, very, very um, interesting hurdle for Mark Charlton. He's been this is a return to the final. He doesn't want to end up with the trophy and not promotion. So it's going to be very, very interesting for him. Obviously, they need to win this for that boost for the T20 challenge. I think they've been a bit inconsistent throughout the season. If you look at it as a whole, not just this competition, but they are clicking in the right areas. They're clicking at the right time at the back
Yeah.
end of the season. The other interesting thing was as a real shock to me a couple of rounds ago, as I was watching their game. I can't remember who they're playing, but it was a couple of rounds ago, and Jonathan Van Der was playing. If you look at the on the list there, we
Yeah.
saw him. He wasn't there last season at all for anybody. He didn't play.
He was in Northern Cape though. He played in the T20 games, but he didn't feature. Because I know
Okay.
it was him, Rivaldo Munsami in that middle order. So he just hasn't left. He's just stayed there, which
Okay.
makes sense because he's got the
Okay.
experience. He didn't play a lot of the 4-day games, but and to a certain extent, I don't think his fitness is at that level to play 4-day again. But I wouldn't be surprised if I saw him on Saturday in the team sheet
Well,
because
he's played the last 2 games, and he's actually been very, very important.
mm,
You could argue the runs he made in the last game against Limpopo were hugely crucial to making sure Limpopo didn't make the final. If you just look at this, he's played 2 games.
yeah,
Anyway,
in 2 games he
250.
averages 55.
Yeah,
He scored
two,
166 runs in 3 innings, which is an average of 55 with a high score of 79. So
yeah. So that's to me
it's a
that's
joker in
that's
the
a
pack.
yeah, yeah. The other guy that you sort of
Mm,
mentioned for watch is Christopher Britz. I think we saw Christopher Britz last season. He was at Northwest. He got a couple of games from memory,
mm,
but then he decided obviously that he wanted to play more often. He's gone
mm.
down here, done the business, scored a 201 a couple of rounds ago. So he has history of
Isn't he a
scoring.
quick scoring batter?
Not so much quick, but he keeps the ball. He keeps it ticking over. I wouldn't call him quick, but
Okay.
he is a good looking batsman to watch. If you look at his overall strike rate this season, it's only 40. But I think you might find he might not be in Division 2 next season because he's now proven that he's good enough for this level. It'll be interesting to see because, as you said, there are not so many opportunities for batsmen in Division 1. There's opportunities for bowlers. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. I would suggest that probably just with momentum, Northern Cape have got it. Northern Cape have momentum. They won a vital
Okay.
game against Limpopo. The Knights, they lost the last two of their last three. They won their last one, but out of the last three, they've lost two games. They let things slip away a little. So the momentum is definitely with Northern Cape, but it's certainly all to play for.
Look, I think here you go with the experience, right? You go with the Northern Cape in a final. Finals are different. It's an extra day. It need to be adjusted. The fact that the Knights actually haven't played in that final round of games last week kind of is a problem for me in terms of their preparation. Where will they get similar quality games preparing for the final, right? And Northern Cape are hot, or not necessarily hot in terms of of winning games, but they are warm. They're warmed up. They're ready to play. They played last week. It's just another routine going in. Whereas you've got that break, and then you need to play. That might cause a lot of problems, but you never know. It promises to be a run fest. They might take 5 days in the Northern Cape. It's not going to rain, that I can tell you. And this is going to be on that wicket. It's going to be tough to take wickets. You're probably going to carry a lot of spinners in there. So Tsepontuli, that's a very big game for him to kind of step up and be the guy for Northern Cape. Ernest Kem's also very good as an all-rounder, but he bats at the top now. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how he goes. And yeah, like Joe van Dijk pace, right, Tim? So he's gonna have to get his team in the game, and then yeah, just those Knights batters need to bat on that surface that they're all used to. Actually, it's like an internal squad game. The B team versus the A team, the guys who couldn't who were let go by Free State but picked up by Northern Cape, and now they're here to show them up. And I'm looking at that Northern Cape team and I'm saying Aubrey Swanepoel plays for the Knights now, right? Let him know what he's missing out on. Look, and to a certain extent, that's what it is. And I think Northern Cape might just have that extra, but you never know. But it's a really good game. Saturday starts at 10 a.m. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. A little intrigued as to why they put it there, but the schedule is the schedule, and we're not going to fight the schedule. But hopefully by next week Wednesday we have a winner, and we get a good game of cricket.
Yeah, and again, as you say, the schedule is a schedule. Look, you can go and watch the first 2 days. Go watch the first 2 days. Make a weekend of it. Yeah, ideally you would want it to start on a Friday, then you at least get 3 days in. But it is what it is.
With people, yeah,
yeah,
who aren't working. Yes. Yeah. Look. Yeah, it's the finale of the 4-day series competition. It's been a great competition. Lots of people scoring runs, lots of people taking wickets. And yeah, we'll be back next week to preview the final of the Division 1 4-day series. And then on top of that, we'll be talking about what's been happening in Division 2 in that final. It won't be done by the time we bring out our Monday podcast, but we'll give you a sense of where teams are and what it looks like going forward. But Tim, any final words? Is it a go Western Province? Is it a go Northern Cape?
No. I just that we need more followers and likes and shares. So please, people, I don't like doing this part of it, but please, more likes, more shares, more followers.
As Tim says, more likes, more shares, more followers. Yeah, just follow us on X, subscribe. Also on the audio platform, if you're watching here, just give us a follow. Just have us on Spotify. One day you won't have time to watch YouTube, but you will be able to listen to us. And so yeah, please do that. We really do appreciate it. It helps us a lot. And yeah, good luck to the teams currently playing. Good luck to the teams that are going to be playing on Saturday. Enjoy that. All the games we're speaking about today will be live on CSA's YouTube channel. The Division 1 games will have commentary. Not sure if the final will have commentary, but I most likely think it might. You never know. There might be a car of commentators driving to the Northern Cape as we speak. That's what it is. Outside of that, everyone, goodbye and le sale kakahiso.